I never chose to be hyper independent. They just thought it was a part of my personality. They didn't understand why it was like that and why I could never ask for help, why I could never even accept help. Every time someone tried to offer to do something for me, it could be as little as running an errand. It could be as little as bringing me lunch or dinner. And I'd be like, no, it's okay. I got it. They're probably just lying. They're probably not even going to come through. And I think so many people told me they would do things for me throughout my life and never fell through with it. Why would I even give someone the opportunity to do something for me anymore?
Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah.
Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Break the Cycles podcast with me, Alisha Sheri, as your host. Today, we're going to be talking about something I think a lot of people deal with as one of their survival identities. And that is hyper independence.
Hey, soul sister. Before we dive in, make sure you followed and subscribed to this podcast so you never miss the next drop of healing energy. And I want to hear from you. Leave a comment or some feedback. Let me know what's been resonating with you and what topics you want me to cover in future episodes. Your voice helps me shape this space for our community. Also, if something in this episode speaks to your spirit, share it with a friend, a sister, or anyone who's walking their own healing journey. Because together, we're not just healing, we're evolving, expanding, and reclaiming our power. Now, let's get into today's episode.
The goal isn't to become more independent. It's to build a life where you don't have to be. And there is a difference, and that's what we're going to talk about today. I want to ask you something. How many times have you said, I got it, don't worry about it, I'll do it, or I don't need help, or maybe you even told yourself it's just easier if I do it, or I'll just do it so I'm not disappointed because I know I'm going to do it the right way. And then how many of your friends would describe you as reliable, as driven, as successful, the responsible one, independent, all those things? When we're in our survival mode, these all sound like compliments. But what it really is, your nervous system was never safe enough to rely on others. You had to depend on yourself because other people would disappoint you. And that's where hyper independence comes from. Letdown, disappointment, not being able to rely on those, especially those that should have loved and protected you and made safe environments for you. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with being independent. And I want to start there because being independent is being responsible. It is being capable is healthy. Being capable is healthy. Being responsible is healthy. Having ambition is healthy. Being self-sufficient is healthy. But hyper independence is different. It's when you have to do everything because that's the only way your body feels safe. And I don't believe hyper independence is a personality trait. I believe that it's a survival identity that is developed when you're in survival mode. Because it started when you didn't feel safe in your own environment. It started maybe as a child, if you grew up in a home that didn't feel safe, if you had parents that didn't make you feel safe, or people that you relied on that should have done things for you and protected you and made you feel safe and let you down. Maybe you went through a lot of betrayal, having trust issues, things like that, where at some point in your life, you realize that things were not get done the right way if you didn't do them yourself. And I know this because I was her. I chased the career. I was a single mom, career driven, and I chased every promotion, every certification, every degree, every title. I had to be on top because If I didn't do it, who is going to provide for me and my daughters? And growing up, I didn't really have security in terms of financially and just really stable household, right? My parents divorced when I was 3, so that right there already kind of gives every child issues going between different households. But not only that, I dealt with a lot of things in each household that didn't make me feel safe, that didn't make me feel supported. I felt like I didn't get a chance to be a child. When you're in your toddler ages, you're playing with toys and playing with dolls and drawing and doing all that. I didn't really have that life. I was actually trying to figure out adult responsibilities because of the things in my household. And because of that, it made me very hyper independent. And as I went into my adult roles, that's exactly what I did. I became more of the people pleaser and the one that you could depend on. If someone needed me to cover an extra shift, I did it. If someone in the family needed help or a problem to solve, I was there. If someone in the family needed help with a bill or help watching their kid, I was there. If someone just needed me to figure it out, I was there. So it wasn't just in my career, it wasn't just in my parenthood, it was just me in general. And it made me the one that everyone went to. But I didn't ever really feel like I had anyone to go to when I needed something. And that made me hyper independent. But here's what I realized is my career wasn't just my career. It was my armor. I chased the promotions, certifications, recognition. I always felt like I had to be the smartest person in the room, not because achievement itself was wrong, but because achievement made me feel safe. I thought that if I became successful enough, useful enough, productive enough, maybe then I'd finally be worthy. Maybe then I'd finally be enough. And maybe then no one could hurt me again. But this didn't start in adulthood. It began in childhood. Hyperindependence doesn't start in the boardrooms or your workplaces. It starts in homes where children learn. No one is coming. I have to figure this out myself. I can't burden anyone. I don't need anything. And I can't be disappointed. That's survival, not confidence. We all have our own journeys, right? So for you, your journey may look completely different, but you still may realize that you became hyper independent due to different circumstances. Maybe you weren't the career woman. Maybe you were the caretaker, the problem solver, the fixer, the peacekeeper, the perfectionist, the people pleaser. Different roles, but same survival responses. And I can relate to all of those because I think when you are betrayed so many times, or when your trust is broken, or if someone was there that should have loved you and protected you and made you safe and didn't, you really take on all those identities. And here's what healing eventually taught me. The goal isn't to become more independent. The goal is to create a life where you don't have to carry everything yourself. And that took me way past entering adulthood to learn. I think in my early 30s, where I started opening up and I started being more willing to accept help, or even accept the fact that I just couldn't do it all anymore. I was burnt out. And that leads me to the next topic, is that the hidden cost of hyper independence is it looks strong from the outside. I used to get that compliment all the time from my friends, like, oh, you have it together, you're so independent. At 18, I had my own house, I had my own car, I was working, I was a new mother. And A lot of my friends still lived at home. People admire me for my success, for my independence, and all that stuff. But what they didn't see is how hard and how lonely it was. How I didn't choose that. I never chose to be hyper independent. They just thought it was a part of my personality. They didn't understand why it was like that, why I could never ask for help, why I could never even accept help. Every time someone tried to offer to do something for me, and it could be as little as running an errand, it could be as little as bringing me lunch or dinner, and I'd be like, no, it's okay, I got it. Because I was like, they're probably just lying. They're probably not even going to come through. And I think so many people told me they would do things for me throughout my life and never fell through with it. So I was just like, why would I even give someone the opportunity to do something for me anymore? And you get to a point where you're just constantly planning. Most people plan for A and B, but for me, I was planning for C, D, E, just in case plan A and B didn't fall through. I was always bracing for impact. I was always expecting the negative thing to happen. That way, if it did happen, that at least I was ready for it, at least I was expecting it, and at least I planned for it. And that is a terrible way to move through life. It really is. But that's just how I was. My mind was constantly going. Nighttime would come. I wouldn't be sleeping. I would be planning for the next day, for the next week. Never resting, never connecting with myself. When people did give me things, I felt guilty or I felt like it was wrong intention, meaning they were expecting something back. And it also made me choose emotionally unavailable partners because I didn't know how to receive support. So when potentially a good man would show up in my life, and the first thing they'd want to do is give and help, I'd be like, no, that's a red flag. Because, like I said, I just thought they wanted something in return or it just wasn't a good intention. And as I got older, and I finally, when I left my first daughter's father, that's when I realized it started affecting my relationships because when I would go out, I wouldn't accept a drink, even a meal from someone. If I did go on a date, I'd be like, oh, I can pay for my food. I was just very closed off to receiving anything from anyone. And I definitely didn't want partnership because I felt like that was just another responsibility that I'd had to take on top of being a single mom and trying to advance my career and just life in general. So I was very closed off, but at the same time, I wanted love. I wanted connection. I wanted compassion and I wanted intimacy. But I just felt like it would all come as a cost. I didn't know what being in a relationship with someone that actually poured into me and didn't expect anything in return felt like. So, for anyone who became hyper independent, the next topic is why do we choose to stay there? Just like any of your survival identities, the hyper independence came to protect us. It was developed as a defense mechanism to protect us because it kept us alive. It kept us going, right? Whether you had chasing the career, or you were the single parent, or you were just the fixer, the helper, whatever your role was, it kept you going. It made your body feel safe to keep doing what you were doing. And most importantly, it got us through our childhood. It got us through those times where we were scared and we didn't feel like we had anybody to protect us. It got us through those toxic relationships when you might have been going through some kind of physical, verbal, mental abuse, or just dealing with emotionally unavailable partners. It got us through divorce. It got us through grief. It got us through our careers. But the thing with survival identities is that they don't know when danger is over. So they just know that it's coming and when you're in it. They don't know that it now needs to stop reacting in that manner until your higher self comes in and takes over. And you prove to them that your higher self is capable to take over. And this is why we keep repeating these patterns, because our nervous system learned what danger is and how to react to it through our survival identities. So we keep doing it because it's familiar, not because it's safe. Even if familiar is exhausting, we're going to keep choosing it. And that's why we have to break those cycles. So you have to ask yourself, why does receiving feel unsafe to you? Why does asking for help feel unsafe? Why does delegating things feel unsafe? Why does resting feel unsafe to you? Why does trusting others feel unsafe to you? Again, depending where it started, and that's another question you go back and build the awareness on, is where did this all start? For me, it was in my childhood, right? I told you, for those that have been following my podcast, you know I grew up in two households, but I really lived with my mom, who had addiction and then later on was diagnosed with schizophrenia, anxiety disorder. So because of that, she didn't have a mature mind to actually be a parent at the time. And it's no shame or blame to her, because she eventually was able to overcome a lot of that before she passed. But because of that, I came home a lot of times to no food, the lights turned off, the gas turned off. I've taken cold showers. I've had to use candles for light. I've had to say I'm not hungry when I'm actually starving, but I didn't want to hurt my mom's feelings and say I'm hungry, knowing there's no food to eat. So it was a lot of these things as a child. Like I said, I didn't get time to play with my toys because I was thinking, how can I help my mom, help us, help me? Because of that, I started taking over the bills. I started connecting the dots and seeing when she got child support from my dad or when the money would come in. I really started tracking those dates and when the bills were due and going down to the electric company and paying the bill, or the gas company, paying the utilities. Back in those days, we didn't really do online stuff, so that's how we did it. I would ride my bike and I would sit with her and I'd be like, I need this money on the 5th. You get child support on the 5th. I need the money. And I would figure out what the minimum amount to pay the bills to prevent them from getting cut off would be. Same thing with food. I grew up on the system. So when food stamps came in, I was like, okay, I know she gets them on the 1st and this is how much we get. Maybe we need to start budgeting so that it'll last us the whole month. Because usually it's the first 2 weeks, just buy everything. And then by mid-month, we're like out of food. And we had a lot of support from my grandparents. So I would go to my grandparents and know when to stock up on food and bring it back home and things like that. But those were the things I was thinking about as a child. And as young as, I don't know, 9, 10 that I can remember, when you have to take on adult responsibilities at such a young age, that's where the hyper independence comes from. That's where it started. And then you take that on with you in life, because now you're like, if my parents can't protect me or provide for me, my dad was always providing, but like I said, it went through my mom, and then I was with my dad part-time. So I always had clothing and stuff like that. My dad always made sure he took us school shopping and we had school supplies and all that. I just didn't really have a lot of necessities at home. So it even got to a point I got free lunches. Sometimes I would hustle for lunch money at school because I wanted the Domino's pizza or the cookies or the things that free lunch only gave you a set menu, right? And so I got really good at doing just that, making money through my friends or whatever. And later on, as I got older, I got into other things, working with drug dealers and trying to flip money. When I started making money as a teenager, I would put in some money, they would take it and maybe flip it for me and things like that. But again, it's no guarantee when you give people your money what you're going to get back. But these are all things I did at such a young age. And the moral of the story is if you took on any type of responsibility at a young age, that's going to create some kind of hyper independency, and you're going to take that survival identity with you into your teenagers years, into your adult years, into your parenthood, into your relationships, and into your career. Like any survival identity, I think the hardest part is letting go. And this is the next topic I want to get into, is grieving the woman who got you here today. Because that's healing, is realizing that you have to let go of that identity. And usually we have several. So we're just talking about hyper independence. But you have to also show that identity gratitude. Because she carried everything. She survived everything. She protected you. But she doesn't have to lead anymore. You don't have to be hyper independent anymore. And the only way to go deeper in your healing journey is to fully let go of those survival identities. And in doing so, you have to learn to trust again. You have to learn to accept help, even if it disappoints you. And you have to even go back to the basics. You can't control people, right? So allowing someone to help you or allowing someone to say they're going to do something for you is also allowing yourself to know that they may not do it. Similar to knowing that you got to be okay with rejection or be okay with people saying no if you do ask for something, right? You got to be okay with both. But you shouldn't not want to receive help because they may not do it for you. There's a difference, right? So you really have to do this mind shift on how you look at things. Because there is good people out there that you can trust. There is good people that will help you when they say they're going to help you or do something for you. But your survival identity is always, no, don't trust nobody. Remember, you got let down once. We don't want to do it again. We're going into safe mode. We're going to have our defense mechanism up. You have to let go of that. And not only that, as you heal, I think you have a better feeling or instinct on who you surround yourself with and who you do rely on and trust to do something for you when they say they're going to do it. It's also releasing control, releasing the control that you have to take on everything. And that can start by giving some things to your kids to do, your partner to do, your friends to do. You don't have to control everything, because hyper independence will definitely make you a controlling person. And for me, I used to be so controlling that even when I would try to have chores for my daughter to do, like for instance, cleaning the bathroom, I had to make sure that I physically saw her use bleach on the toilet or bleach the bathroom. And if I didn't see her do it, I had to go do it myself. It was little things like that made me have control of everything. How my partner would fold the clothes. If they didn't do it the way I did it, I would redo it. What is the point of that? Controlling every movement at work. Everything I did was in my control. That's why I was so good as leader, because I had control of how the team performed and operated and how we developed our processes. But was that healthy? No, because I was always analyzing and strategizing and taking work home, and that's what made me burn out. right? So you got to let go of that. You got to also let go of the overachievement, the chasing the certifications, the degrees, those type of things. You have to let go of that. And you have to know that you don't have to wear that armor. You don't have to demonstrate that you are worthy of something by overachieving or proving. You don't have to prove nothing to nobody. So the next topic is building a life you don't have to survive. Because what if success wasn't measured by how much you can carry? What if success just meant feeling safe, feeling supported, having community, receiving help, resting without guilt, and trusting someone else to show up for you? What if that was success? So, as I got deeper in my healing journey, I started to realize I had to accept help, because the main thing that made me get into my healing journey was the fact that I was burned out. For those that have been following my podcast, you hear me talk a lot about my corporate career of 18 years supporting the Department of Defense and what it did to me, including losing touch within myself, losing touch with my kids, coming home from work being so depleted and exhausted that I couldn't even attend to my own children. Because of that, I really had to start accepting help, even from my own kids. So my kids are 12 years apart. So I had to start allowing my oldest daughter to help with the youngest daughter. And for the longest time, I wouldn't, because I didn't want her to feel like that was her responsibility. But let's be real, she is the older sister to a degree. Taking care of her younger sister is her responsibility. But I never wanted to be the parent where it feels like it's her daughter, because some parents do that, right? Even when it came to babysitting, I would pay her to watch her sister because I didn't want her to feel like in any way, shape, or form I'm trying to pawn off my responsibility of my daughter to my oldest daughter. But around the house, like, she can do things. I don't have to see or control everything that she cleans. I had to just trust that she knew and she did it right, after I showed her a few times, of course. But moral of the story is I started letting go. I started letting go of my OCD. I started letting go of, if it's done by the exact steps I want it to be done. She can cook a meal for her younger sister sometimes. She can even cook a meal for me. She can help with the laundry. She can help doing these things around the house. And then as I went through my divorce, people at work were just always offering help, knowing that I was a single mom. And I was just like, no, I'm okay. I got it. But then I started learning and I started teaching myself that it's okay. If one of my coworkers wanted to take me and my kids out to dinner, or even just get us takeout, I'd be like, yeah, sure. And it felt very uncomfortable, just like anything else you're going to do. Any kind of change you're implementing is going to feel uncomfortable, but it just also felt so refreshing at the same time. And then I also started getting used to actually just saying, I need help. Whether it was just to God and the universe, I need help, Lord. I really need your help. And that was really hard for me. I even did it in the mirror, telling myself I needed help. I need your help to let go of that identity. And remembering, just because I'm so capable and successful doesn't mean I have to carry it all on my own. And this all came at a time where I was literally on my own, where I went through my divorce. I didn't have any family out here. It was just me and my two girls. And what I realized is that I had such a strong community around me, whether it was just people at work or people that I met on my hiking groups or at yoga or whatever it was. I had so many people willing to help me and willing to take us in. I had close friends that took us in as family. And I was so grateful for that, because that helps. Community helps. And it makes you feel like you're not alone. Just remember, as you're healing, it's not necessarily to make you stronger. Sometimes healing is really to make you softer, to make you stop feeling like you're on your own, like you have to carry your own. When I was in the corporate world, I was in an environment where I was discriminated because I was a young minority woman in leadership roles. So I always had to be more masculine, alpha, for people to take me serious, because most of the team that I did manage were males, or most of my peers in leadership were males who had actual military experience as a service member or had the expertise in that field, whereas I had to learn from the ground up, reading books, reading the male standards or whatever it was. It brought me into this space where I felt like I had to be very masculine. I had to let go of that. Healing isn't about becoming more masculine. It's letting go of that alpha mentality so that you can bring out your feminine energy and feel safe and protected in doing so. And I hear this a lot, but women are always like, being with a partner, they have to make me feel safe. They have to make me feel like I can actually bring out that feminine energy. But how about you bring it out yourself? How about you make yourself feel safe? Don't depend on someone else to do it, because you can do it by yourself.
Hey there, sis. If you've been noticing the same emotional patterns repeating, feeling disconnected from yourself, or sensing that something within you is ready to rise, I want to invite you into something intentional. I've created a 3-day guided experience called Awaken Your Highest Self. This isn't a live workshop. It's a self-paced container designed to support real transformation. You will receive instant access to day 1, and then day 2 and day 3 will unlock each day. So you can actually integrate what you're learning and not just consume it. Each day includes guided teachings and worksheets to help you build awareness of the cycles holding you back, regulate your energy, and step into deeper alignment with who you're becoming. This isn't about fixing yourself. It's about remembering who you are. You can begin anytime at alishasheri.com/workshop.
So just remember that healing isn't necessarily to become stronger, and becoming softer doesn't mean you're weak. It means that you're creating a space to feel safe, because strength is not about carrying everything on your own. Strength is about allowing someone to help you carry it. And that's what life should look like. You should be building a life so that you don't have to do everything on your own. You don't have to carry everything on your own. So before we close, let's go into a quick guided meditation. If it's safe to do, go ahead and close your eyes and visualize yourself walking through a dense forest, carrying a heavy backpack. Inside are stones labeled achievement, perfectionism, control, proving, responsibility, hyper independence, and fear of needing others. As you continue walking, you arrive at a peaceful clearing with a calm lake. Across the water stands your highest self, smiling, calm, grounded, and no longer carrying everything. Before crossing, you gently remove the backpack. One by one, you take out each stone. Thank it for protecting you and place it on the earth. Then imagine a simple wooden bridge appearing across the lake. As you walk across, each step feels lighter. When you reach your highest self, she embraces you and whispers, "You don't have to earn your worth anymore. You don't have to prove your value. You don't have to carry everything alone. You are safe to receive. You are safe to rest. You are already enough. Now, imagine yourself walking back into your life, not as someone who has just lost their strength, but as someone who has discovered that true strength is knowing when you no longer have to carry it all alone. Thank you for joining today. I hope this episode resonated with you. Please subscribe to this podcast if you have not done so, and feel free to leave a comment below if you'd like me to address future episodes with a specific topic. I would love to hear your feedback. Thank you again, and we'll see you next time.
Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya.